Welcome to part 21 in our series of videos about creating a simple purchase order system using Blazor and C#. In this video, we're going to look at authentication and authorization. When we initially created our project, we selected to change the authentication and to set it up with individual user accounts. Visual Studio 2019 has changed since I made those videos. That was in part 3 of the videos, and the equivalent nowadays will look like this. So if you're starting now, you'll need to select none. You'll have to select the drop down, which will initially say none, and then select individual user accounts. So we've got authentication and authorization set up, but we haven't actually done anything with it other than determining the user email for the purchase order header, which we did in video 10. In this post, we'll look at ensuring that a user is registered and logged in before they can view or maintain any orders, and they are in a role called admin before they're able to maintain tax rates, suppliers, and products. What follows is largely based on a YouTube video by Carl Franklin, and I'll put the link in the description. And I would recommend viewing the video for a better understanding than I'm going to be able to show here. In summary, authentication is knowing who the user is, and authorization is granting permission to view data or perform some other action. Now, by adding individual account type authentication when we started, we have actually got quite a lot of facilities already built into the application. So let's just take a look at that. So when we start the application, this is the view that we get. We've got the ability to register, so we can add a new user by entering an email address and password. We can log in. So if I log in now, we can see that it displays the user who's logged in up here. There's also an about, which I won't bother with, but it takes you off to a Microsoft website. But if you click on the user ID up here, you can manage some elements of your account, not a lot. You can put your phone number in, you can change your email address, which is effectively the login. You can change password. There's two-factor authentication, which I haven't explored, and there's personal detail, which again I haven't explored, but that's where you delete a user. So all that's already built in. But if I log out, you'll see that even though I'm not logged in, I can see all the orders. I can go to tax rates, I can go to suppliers, I can go to products, I can even add products, suppliers, and tax rates, and indeed purchase orders. So the purpose of adding the authorization part of this is to ensure that people who don't have the authority to make changes don't make changes. Now, to keep things as simple as possible, we're going to use an existing application from GitHub to provide the administration system we need. As mentioned by Carl Franklin, the application we'll be using has been deprecated, but it still works. This is a separate application that we can run alongside the purchase order application, although I imagine it would be possible to integrate it or its successor into the purchase order system. So what we're going to do is open a browser and go to the GitHub page. I've already got it ready here. So this is the link. Again, I'll put it in the description. For anyone trying to type it in manually, please note it's McGuinness, not MacGuinness, which is what I originally had, and it's got 2 N's. So having got here, it gives a bit of a description down here and shows the screens that we'll be using. But what we need to do is select code and download the zip. As you can see, I've done this already. Then we'll open that, and I'm going to copy, doesn't matter which one you copy, I'm going to copy it into a separate location. For Chris, source code or source repos, and I've already got a folder ready. I'm going to paste it in there. Then I'm going to extract that. And then I'm going to, once it's extracted, go and find the SLN folder and double click that to start it. Now there are two very simple changes that we need to make. First of all, on startup, this is configured initially to use SQLite. What we need in there is SQL Server, so we just change that to SQL Server. And the other change is the default connection. Now we need to link to the SQL database that we initially created for authentication when we initially set up the project. So let me go back to purchase orders. I'll stop that. And what we're going to do is just copy from app settings this default connection. So I'm just going to copy that. Go back to the Identity Manager, and in app settings, I'm just going to replace that line with that line from purchase orders. Now with those changes in place, we should be able to run it. And we can see we get this rather nice form here, which lists the users. So we've got Identity Manager, Home, which will bring us to this list of users, and we've got roles. Now, what we're going to be doing is adding a role called admin, and then restricting access to various parts of the system so that only admin has access to it. So I'm going to create a role, click New, and I'm going to call it admin. And now with that in place, I'm going to go back to Home again. I'm going to go to my user, edit it, and add a role called admin. And you'll see here we've now got the roles showing against my login email. Right, so that's a very simple demonstration of the Identity Manager. Now to implement that, we need to go back to our purchase orders, and on the startup, we have got this line here, add default identity, and in here we want to just add roles identity role. So that's a basic requirement. The next thing we're going to do is we'll start by restricting the menu so that non-admin users cannot see the options to maintain tax, suppliers and products. And to do this, we select the nav menu, which is under shared. And we're going to surround the items we don't want the non-admins to see, to tax, supplier and product, by putting in here this item, authorized view admin, and we'll need to close that off. So now only admin users will be able to see that. So if we run the program again, we'll see that in action. So at the moment, I'm not logged in, and so the tax, supplier and products aren't being shown. But let me log in, and now they can be seen. But let me log out. I'm now going to just register another new user. I'm going to call him John. And I'm going to confirm. Right, so let's go back to purchase orders, and I'm now going to log in as John. So I'm logged in as John. We can see up there, John hasn't been put in the admin role, so he can't see tax, suppliers or products. But there's a problem with this. If John happened to know that the route to the tax form, for example, was just tax, he could type it in and he would be able to get to tax rates. And that's obviously something that we don't want. And we can change that relatively simply. So I'm going to stop the application. And the way we stop that is for those pages that we don't want the user to have access to, such as the tax page, up at the top here, we can include this attribute statement that says attribute, open square brackets, authorize roles equals admin. And that will only allow the admin role to have access to this. As a bit of an aside, if you've got more than one role, for example, if you had a manager role as well, and you wanted them to have access to this, you could separate them by putting a comma and then adding the other roles in here. Notice that the comma and the other role is within the double quotes. Okay, I'm just going to leave that as admin for the moment. And we need to put that on the other pages that we don't want John to have access to. So I'm going to copy that and I'm going to prevent it on the supplier and on the product page. So let's run that and just check it. So if I log in as John, John doesn't see tax, supplier or products. And if we type in here, tax, he gets not authorized. So that's good. But there's still a problem. If I log out, you'll see that John can see the list of purchase orders. And if John, well, no, if somebody isn't logged in, we don't want them to see our list of purchase orders. If the user or non-user even knew the route to a particular page, they would also be able to have access to it. So I don't know the links to this, but let's just have a look at this. If I go to edit 1054, you'll see I'm able to edit, which isn't good either. So and again, if they were able to type in purchase order /1054, they would go straight to it. So we need to prevent that. And the simplest way of doing that is to add something to the imports file. So I'll close it and I'll go to the imports. And what we need to do here is bring in, so that will prevent anyone from seeing any of the orders or going directly to a particular route. So let's run it again just to check that. And now we get not authorized, and they can't put in here purchase order. It was 1054. So they still get not authorized. So that's good. But the problem is, I don't think that's very pretty. You don't really want not authorized in here. We want some kind of message that says, please register or please log in. We can make a change to allow that as well. So let me close. And we can make a change to the indexed page. And the first thing we need to do is to kind of override the overarching, where is it? I put it on the imports. We need to override that. So we can do that on here by typing in here, allow anonymous. And that will allow people who aren't logged in to have access to the page. But we can then restrict it by putting some that authorized view statement around the rest of the code here. So what we need to do is, first of all, we've brought in that, and then after the div, I'm going to have this in here. So it's going to say authorized view. If they're not authorized, it's going to have please log in or register to use Blazor purchase orders. I've then got the closing authorized there. Sorry, not authorized. Then if it's authorized, they're going to see all this lot. And that's before this. We want to put the closing text or brackets. So that closes the authorized and that closes the authorized view. So let's have a go and see what happens now. So I'm not logged in, so I get a message saying please log in or register to use Blazor purchase orders. And if I log in and I log in as John, I do get to see the orders, and I can't get access to pages that I don't have access to, such as tax. And I know this, if we actually go to purchase orders and look at one of these orders and preview it, we'll see here that the address of that is preview order 1056. I'm just going to close that and log out. And the reason for this will become clear in a few videos time. I'm going to copy that in there. I can't get to it, but maybe I do want access to that. And the way we do that is to put that allow anonymous on the preview order page. So let me close and let me copy that. And it's on the preview order page. Right, and now if I run it and type in preview order, .1054, I think it was, I can see it. So I'm not logged in, but I can actually see an order. And the reason I've done this will become apparent, as I say, in the next couple of videos. So that's pretty much it, but there is one more thing I'd like to change. I'm not going to be able to do it in this video, but we'll do it in the next one. If I log in as John again, the thing that strikes me is that John may be just an ordinary user, but he's seeing all the purchase orders here. It would be nice if we could restrict it so that, for example, admins could see all the orders, but perhaps the individual users could only see their own orders that they'd requested and entered. And maybe we've got an intermediate role as well. Perhaps we should call it manager, that allows the users with a manager role to see purchase orders, but not tax or suppliers or products, or maybe we should allow some of those, but allow them to see all the purchase orders. So that's what I've got waiting in the wings. Thank you very much for watching this video. I'll put a link in the description to the various resources I've used, including some that I haven't mentioned in here. If you've got any comments, please leave the comments. I'll be very interested to hear them, and if I can answer them, even better. And I look forward to making more videos in the near future. Thank you.